Hey book lovers, I'm Elise, and today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in the month of February. The official number of books that I read in February is 7. However, I actually read 9, but 2 of them I'm not going to talk about because they are part of a reading vlog that I'm still working on. I have one more book in that vlog to read. I'm just gonna wait, and the month that the vlog is finished is the month that I will talk about those 2 books. Let's look at some stats. Still have not read any 5 stars, which is unfortunate. I was kind of getting a little nervous, and now I've accepted it. I've accepted my fate. This just is not the reading year for me, apparently. The top moods that I read were dark, tense, mysterious, and sad. Huh, I don't like sad books. What was considered sad? What? That one was sad? That one was sad. I don't know. Okay. So as far as genres go, I read 3 thrillers, 1 sci-fi, 1 fantasy, and 1 horror. And my average rating for the month was 3 stars. I had 2 2 stars, 3 3 stars, and 2 4 stars. The first book that I finished in February was Shadow by Kara Swanson. This is book 2 in the Heirs of Neverland series. It's a dark YA Peter Pan retelling. Dust is the first one, and I read that in January. So Shadow just basically picks up where Dust left off, while the first book takes place primarily in London, I believe. Book 2, Shadow, takes place primarily back in Neverland. So it's kind of nice, a change of scenery. You really just kind of delve into the characters more and find out what happened to Neverland that made it not what it used to be, and you follow the characters in trying to get it back to the way that it was. And I rated that one 3 stars. The second book that I finished was The Teacher by Frida McFadden. This one I rated 4 stars, and it was a pretty juicy thriller. It's extremely problematic, don't get me wrong. Definitely check trigger warnings, but overall I was extremely intrigued. This book follows a teacher. She and her husband are both teachers at this high school, so we're following the POV of the wife and then also one of the students. And the student, the previous school year, she was caught in the middle of a bit of a scandal. People, specifically teachers, are very apprehensive of her, and it's one of those things where you as the reader don't understand what happens, kind of slowly revealed to you as the story goes on. The third book that I finished was Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I picked this up not because I thought that I would like it, because honestly the things that I've heard about this book, I was like, you know, I don't really think I'm gonna like it. It's a horror, more on the literary side, and I think there's like a total of 4 points of view, so there's like 4 points in the book, and each part is from the POV of a different character, and it starts in the POV of the mother of this boy. He is sickly and he ends up passing away, and the mom had kind of heard of this ritual where you can take a part of the person who died and kind of nurture it and care for it, and it will grow into not the same person but something similar. So she does that with a piece of the lung from her son who tragically passed away. Then this creature is created. They nurture him and raise him to be like their son. And in a way he is their son, but also he's not. I had concerns going into this, thinking that it would be really, really sad surrounding the death of a child. It is sad, but it's not as sad as you might think. I guess if that's something that you're worried about going into this, maybe don't be. But the mom and the dad are actively going through the mourning phase of having lost their son. Very weird book. I personally didn't really care for it. I did only give it 2 stars. I'm definitely in the minority because a lot of people have rated this quite highly. The next book that I read was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I will admit I had pretty high expectations going into this just because of all the amazing ratings. I was let down. I am hard to please when it comes to thrillers, so I will say that. I was expecting a lot out of this, and it was just a basic thriller. The thing that irritates me the most about this book is that it kind of starts out, and the synopsis talks about a whole birthday twin thing where these 2 women are at a restaurant and they're both celebrating the same birthday, like their 45th birthday or something. And that kind of leads to this podcast opportunity because the one woman, that's what she does. She, you know, produces podcasts. So the one woman starts interviewing the other woman, and they kind of get integrated into each other's lives. And we learn about the husband of either woman. Definitely when the book started out, I felt like I was like, wow, this is good. I'm probably gonna rate this like at least 4 stars. As the book went on, it kind of fizzled out for me. So if you're new into the thriller genre, or if you just love thrillers like wholeheartedly, I think this would be a really good one to pick up. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. The next book was technically an ARC. I just did not read it prior to the publication date, sorry. Thank you, Nat Galley, for my copy of this book, and that is The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. I was nervous going into this because I have read Catherine Catherine Ryan Howard previously, which was 56 Days. I did not care for that book at all, and I didn't care for the trap either. So what I said on Goodreads, this story follows multiple points of view, including a woman who believes her sister was one of a handful of women abducted and murdered, members of the Irish police force, because this takes place in Ireland, and the apparent abductor or murderer of the missing women. The story felt sluggish, it was really slow. The way that the story wrapped up, I was not a fan of. I'm not a huge true crime fan. I think if you are really into true crime, this might be up your alley. Unfortunately, I was disappointed and I only gave this one 2 stars. The next book that I read was The Past is Red by Catherine M. Valenti. This is the same author as Comfort Me with Apples. Let me read you what I said on Goodreads. So this is a fun post-apocalyptic sci-fi novella. I was impressed with the world building in this story and enjoyed getting to know Tetley, who's the main character. I also love the language used, but if you don't like excessive cursing and if you don't like a particular British slang word that many Americans find too offensive to even utter, this might be one to skip because there's definitely a lot of swearing. This one was just really fun and very imaginative. Like I said, it is post-apocalyptic. It takes place during a time on Earth where the world as we know it does not exist anymore. And Tetley, she's a really cool character. Okay, so if you have seen Game of Thrones, I can't remember her name. She's the redhead that, I don't want to spoil anything. She's the one that's like, Jon Snow. So in the audiobook, that redhead's accent in Game of Thrones is the accent of Tetley. And even like the personality, like very similar. Like that's honestly who I imagined in reading this. Despite the terrible life that she has led, like she is outrageously positive and just, I don't know, like she was just a really cool character. I enjoyed being inside her head. I don't know what else to say. Let me just read you the synopsis because I'm not doing a great job of explaining this. An enchanting, dark, funny, angry story of a girl who made 2 terrible mistakes. She told the truth and she dared to love the world. The future is blue, endless blue, except for a few small places that float across the hot, drowned world left behind by long-gone fossil fuel guzzlers. One of those patches is a magical place called Garbage Town, which is where Tetley lives. Tetley Abednego is the most beloved girl in Garbage Town, but she's the only one who knows it, which basically means everybody hates her, but she's still like, I'm amazing, everybody loves me. And that sounds bad. Like that sounds like a really arrogant, self-centered person, but that's not what she's like at all. She's the only one who knows a lot of things, that Garbage Town is the most wonderful place in the world, that it's full of hope, that you can love someone and 66% hate them all at the same time. But Earth is a terrible mess, hope is a fragile thing, and a lot of people are very angry with her. Then Tetley discovers a new friend, a terrible secret, and more to her world than she ever expected. This story went someplace I did not expect, and I was very impressed. So if you're a fan of post-apocalyptic stories, sci-fi stories, imaginative world building, and really great, quirky, funny characters, this is definitely a book that I would recommend, that I rated 4 stars. And the final book that I read in February is book 2 in the Throne of Glass series, Crown of Midnight. I liked this one more than Throne of Glass. Still didn't love it though. And honestly, this one, when I read Throne of Glass, I listened to it and read it on my Kindle at the same time. I didn't do that with Crown of Midnight because I actually listened to it on a weekend that I did a lot of moving and cleaning. The end of February was when we had to be completely out of our old place. I binged it on audiobook over like 2 days. I didn't love it because, to be honest, I'm having a hard time trying to remember everything that happened or even like what the main points of the story were. But I remember the bombshell ending. I'm excited to continue with the series at least. So while Throne of Glass was like a low 3-star, Crown of Midnight was a higher 3-star. Those are all the books that I read in February, or at least all the ones I'm going to tell you about right now. Favorite book of the month was probably The Teacher. It was such a juicy thriller, and if a thriller can wow me, that's really exciting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite book in February was and what you're most looking forward to reading in the month of March. And until next time, bye.